So before I go any further, I'm going to make sure I have it the width that I want it. So I set it up with some of my mock-up setup wheels and tires. And although the limit is 2 5/8 for the Showdown, I think 2 9/16, about 65 millimeter, that looks pretty good for the kit in question. So I've just got them both set at that width. I'm going to have a match. So now I can measure and cut the tubes for both the front and the rear. So with the tires removed, makes it easier to measure, and we're looking at, right around 39.50, 40 millimeters, give or take. Got a little bit of play here, and that's fine. I'm gonna add a couple of the small shims on each side anyway. I like to do that. I always add shims, it's just me. But now we can measure the tube with the oil lights. So when you're measuring and cutting the tube for the rear, if you're going to use the tube method, always factor in the thickness of the flange of the oil light that you're using. In this case, these are 0.75, 0.74 millimeter. And remember, you're going to cut your tube a little bit proud, and then you can hand file it down to get that exact width. But when you cut and measure, just don't forget to measure this. And since we're using the tubing method, you guessed it, number 8130, the 7/32 tube is what I'm going to use. And to cut it, well, that's pretty easy. Just have a reinforced wheel again in the Dremel. I know there's tubing cutters out there that can help you make a straighter cut, but you know what? I just do this by sight. And then once I do that, I just take a flat file and I start cleaning it up to adjust the width. And then finally, to make sure our oil lights can fit in there clean, I just take an X-Acto knife, I get in here, and I deburr it. So without the bushings, 38.37, 38.35, now you know the measurement if you'd like to make your own. For the front tubing, pretty simple. We don't have to worry about the flange and the bushings. Right there at 40 millimeter. So as my design goes forward, I decided on trying a little Z-frame action, just kind of a hand fabricated look like they had back in the day, using the 8150 square brass tubing, K&S, just stacked on top of each other like that and soldered. Now, that leaves a little bit of gap, and I've changed to the round number 5127 1/8 brass tube for the front axle holder, but there's a little gap. But what we're going to do is we're going to raise the rails so it touches the bottom there. Gives it kind of a reverse rake look, which some of them had. So here we are with wheelbase. It's just right there past 3.5. I wanted the front axle to be right in front of the radiator, kind of like that stretch look. Yeah, I think that'll work out just fine. And there you go. We still have some fabrication to do, of course, but we got the chassis pinned out. Things are taking shape. Like I said, I'm not sure exactly where we're going to go, but I have a pretty good idea. Thanks to Ron there at New York Modifieds for some inspiration, and I'll share that with you next.